Imagine being born already fighting for territory. Literally. Welcome to the very dark beginning of Jacob. And yes, things started strange and only got worse. From the very first moment, the story carries a weird energy. Esau is born first, red, hairy, loud, the kid who looks ready to go hunting before he can crawl. And then Jacob follows, holding Esau's heel, not metaphorically, physically. Like a newborn trying to win a race he didn't even know he was running. If this happened today, it would be the equivalent of fighting for a promotion before even joining the company. As the brothers grow, the contrast becomes sharper. Esau is the outdoors type, fast, impulsive, all muscle and instinct. Jacob stays closer to home, calm, observant, playing the long game without announcing he's playing any game at all. Inside the house, things get even more interesting. Their mother prefers Jacob. Their father prefers Esau. A perfectly balanced environment for absolutely nothing peaceful. A perfect manual for family drama. And while everyone goes about daily life pretending everything is normal, something darker is forming underneath. The rivalry grows in silence, like a storm building behind the mountains while the sky still looks clear. Jacob watches the world with unusual precision. He notices timing, weaknesses, patterns, things no one else cares about. He doesn't need strength or speed or loud words. He just needs the right moment. And Esau? He lives in a simpler universe. He hunts, he eats, he sleeps. He's direct, fast, and emotionally allergic to strategy. The kind of person who doesn't check who's behind him because he assumes no one would ever take advantage of him. Inside that house, tiny details start turning into pressure points. A comment here, a forgotten promise there. A glance that says more than the words spoken. None of them loud enough to call a fight. All of them loud enough to build one. Small manipulations begin to appear, nothing obvious but definitely not accidental. Jacob isn't plotting yet, but the foundations are being laid. And every moment of favoritism, every uneven reaction, every unnoticed tension becomes another brick in a structure no one realizes he's constructing. The question isn't if something bad will happen, it's when and how far Jacob is willing to go once the moment arrives. And nobody, absolutely nobody, Kifa, imagines the lengths Jacob is prepared to reach. The tension that had been building in the background finally starts moving to the front. Jacob has been quiet, observant, calculating, and now the cracks inside that family begin to pay off. The rivalry that started with a heel grab is about to level up. The story of Jacob gets dark fast, very fast. It starts on an ordinary day. Nothing dramatic, nothing apocalyptic. Just Esau coming back from the fields completely worn out. He's hungry, sweaty, exhausted. The kind of exhaustion where people stop thinking and start agreeing to anything that smells like food. Jacob sees the moment instantly. Esau wants a bowl of stew. Jacob wants, well, something far bigger, the birthright. And in one of the most bizarre trades ever recorded, Esau agrees. A future inheritance, leadership of the family, spiritual authority, exchanged for lunch. It's like selling your car for a bowl of soup because you had a bad day. Esau doesn't think twice. Jacob, on the other hand, has already thought 20 times. Jacob wasn't strong, but he knew how to negotiate. Ethically questionable, of course. But this is only the warm-up. The real deception hasn't even started. The household is aging. Isaac is nearly blind and ready to give his final blessing, a blessing that determines destiny, authority, and legacy. It's supposed to go to Esau. Tradition says so. Logic says so. Basically everyone says so, everyone except Jacob and his mother. With Rebekah's help, Jacob puts on Esau's clothes, covers his arms with goat hair, and walks into the tent pretending to be his brother. The plan shouldn't work, it's ridiculous, but Isaac, blind and emotional, believes it. And with one touch, and then one blessing, the entire future of both brothers flips. Jacob steals the blessing, not metaphorically. Literally stealing his brother's destiny. A perfect case of ancient identity theft. Old school identity theft, as the bitter joke goes. And for a moment, everything is calm. Jacob gets the blessing. The plan works. The house stays quiet. But silence is often the sound right before everything explodes. Because Esau eventually comes home. He brings the food Isaac asked for. He's ready for his moment. And then he discovers what happened, the trade, the disguise, the stolen blessing, all of it layered like a carefully prepared trap. And when Esau discovers, the shadow becomes pursuit. Esau's anger turns the house into a pressure cooker, and everyone knows Jacob won't survive if he stays. There's no time for negotiation, apologies, or let's talk about this like adults. The situation is simple. Jacob runs, because when you deceive your own family, staying isn't always an option. He heads far away, starting his life from scratch in a place where nobody knows what he did or who he tricked. A reset button, ancient edition, new land, new routine, new everything. He settles in, he works, he learns, he falls in love. He builds a life that looks stable, clean, and almost guilt-free. It's like moving to a different city to forget old drama. For a while, it works. Jacob blends into the new environment surprisingly well. He's disciplined, patient, and ironically, the most reliable worker anyone has ever hired. But life or destiny or poetic justice has a strange sense of humor, because the man who built everything through deception gets deceived. Not once, not lightly, but with absolute mastery. Laban, the master of fine print agreements, pulls off a trick that makes Jacob's earlier schemes look like practice rounds. The details vary depending on who tells the story, but the conclusion is the same. Jacob loses years, not days, not months, years. Promises shift, agreements twist, expectations change without warning. And Jacob keeps working and working, piling up emotional bruises, confusion, frustration, and the kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away with sleep. Jacob the trickster becomes Jacob the victim. Karma in biblical narrative form. His life becomes an endless chain of negotiations, bargains, and setbacks. Every victory comes with a cost. Every step forward comes with a weight. And as the years pass, Jacob's house grows, not in peace, but in tension. Children, wives, servants, herds, everything expands, except calm. The internal conflicts multiply faster than the livestock. Rivalries appear inside his own household. The same dynamics he once lived with, favoritism, tension, fractures, now repeat in front of him. And no matter how far he ran, the storm he left behind seems to grow new branches in his new home. At some point, Jacob realizes the truth he has avoided for years. He built a new life, yes, but he never escaped the consequences of the old one. The weight of unresolved history hangs over him like a shadow that refuses to evaporate. And the rumors, the dreams, the fears all point in the same direction. Eventually, he will have to face what he ran from. And after all these years, the moment that everyone feared, especially Jacob, is getting closer. And after years, the most intense moment of all finally arrives. The years pass, but the shadow never leaves. Every step Jacob takes toward prosperity seems to echo the same reminder. Unfinished stories don't disappear, they wait. The problem with running from the past is that it tends to schedule a meeting later, and Jacob's meeting is now on the calendar. Word arrives, Esau is coming. Not casually, not accidentally. He's approaching with a group of men, an entourage that might mean reconciliation or revenge. Jacob has no idea which option is waiting for him. He tries to prepare, but how exactly does someone prepare to face the person they tricked, cheated, and displaced? There's no script for this, no strategy that guarantees survival. From a modern perspective, it's basically like meeting someone you blocked on every social platform. The anxiety hits hard. He divides his camp, makes plans A, B, C, and D, sends gifts ahead to soften the blow, ancient conflict resolution via livestock delivery, but none of it quiets the panic growing inside him. Eventually, night falls. Everyone else sleeps. Jacob stays awake. He sits alone, surrounded by silence thick enough to feel like pressure on the chest. This is the night where all the guilt, fear, and unresolved history come crashing down at once. Then something unexpected happens. A man appears. Not introduced, not explained, not friendly, and Jacob ends up wrestling him, an all-night struggle with a mysterious figure who refuses to identify himself, No weapon, no dialogue, just a fight in the dark that feels symbolic and painfully real at the same time. The anguish is intense. Jacob is exhausted, terrified, and confused, but he refuses to let go. Whatever this moment represents, fear, destiny, consequence, he holds onto it with everything he has left. By the end of the fight, the mysterious figure touches Jacob's hip, and it dislocates instantly. A single movement, and Jacob collapses, but he still refuses to release his grip. He's injured, shaking, barely standing, but transformed. Something inside him shifts with that wound, as if the physical hit just revealed the internal one he'd been carrying for years. And here comes the dark, comedic truth of the moment. Sometimes to move forward, you need to lose, even your joint. By sunrise, Jacob is limping, breathless, and forever changed. His name is different, his posture is different, and the confrontation he feared is now unavoidable. Esau is close. Close enough that Jacob can feel the tension in the air. Everything, the birthright, the betrayal, the escape, the years of avoidance, is finally converging on this moment, and everyone who knows the story secretly doubts that this reunion can possibly end well. And then comes the reunion no one believed would work. Morning arrives and Jacob walks toward Esau still limping, still unsure, still carrying every choice he made along the way. But something fundamental has shifted. The fear is still there, yes, but the version of Jacob walking now is not the same man who once ran. The story of Jacob is dark because it is extremely human, and that's exactly what becomes clear as the final pieces of this journey come together. From the very beginning, the narrative has been a chain of shadows, a rivalry that started at birth, a cleverly timed deception, a desperate escape, years of conflict and frustration, a wound that changed his walk, and finally, an unlikely reconciliation. Everything that looked chaotic or morally questionable ends up showing the same truth. People are complicated, families even more, and nobody gets through life without leaving or carrying marks. Jacob finally reaches Esau. There is a moment of absolute stillness when both brothers face each other, a moment that could collapse in any direction. But instead of revenge, Esau embraces him. The years of anger melt into something no one saw coming. It is not perfect, it is not polished, it is not a fairy tale ending, but it is real. And the lesson lands with a modern clarity. Families still carry shadows. Secrets, favoritism, and mistakes leave marks. Time passes, but the patterns remain familiar. Every family has a history they don't fully talk about. Quiet resentments, old wounds, loyalties that tilt too far in one direction. Jacob's story isn't far away. It's painfully recognizable. His journey reveals that transformation rarely comes from comfort. It comes from discomfort, tension, and the moments we'd rather avoid. It comes from confronting the things we ran from, or the things that followed us anyway. And the final comparison fits perfectly with the arc of his life. It's like realizing that growing up hurts, but prevents much bigger damage later. The dark parts of Jacob's story don't ruin it. They expose the very place where change happens. They show the cost of choices, the consequences of silence, and the strange way healing sometimes requires a limp. By the end, Jacob is older, slower, and far more aware of who he is. Not because everything went right, but because everything went wrong in a way that shaped him. The narrative closes without dramatic fireworks, but with a grounded reminder. The most uncomfortable stories are often the ones that teach the most. And now, with this chapter complete, the next step is yours. Which story would you like simplified next? Rachel and Leah, Joseph in Egypt, or the story of Esau?